Stop scrolling for a second. Let me ask you something that might just change how you see everything. Do you honestly believe that being good keeps you safe? That kindness protects you from harm? That generosity earns loyalty? That honesty guarantees respect? If your answer is yes to any of those, I have to tell you, you've been lied to. This is the most dangerous illusion society ever created. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that goodness equals safety. But here's the harsh reality. Goodness can destroy you. Goodness is like fire. It burns, it consumes, and if you don't control it, it can burn down everything you've built: your career, your relationships, your dreams, your sense of self. Niccolo Machiavelli saw this truth centuries ago. He watched kind rulers get betrayed, generous leaders get crushed, and honest people get silenced. He studied it, analyzed it, and wrote down exactly why good people fall. Today, I'm going to share what he discovered: the hidden cost of goodness. You'll see why kindness, when used blindly, becomes your greatest weakness, and how to turn it into your most powerful weapon. But before we dive in, I want to make something clear. I'm not telling you to become cruel. I'm not asking you to hurt others. What I'm showing you is how to be good strategically, not blindly. Because in a world full of wolves, being a sheep doesn't make you noble, it makes you dinner. 1. Goodness is exposure. Think about the kindest person you know. Really picture them. Now, be honest. Are they truly respected? Or are they the one everyone calls when they need something? Because here's the ugly truth. Being good often makes you vulnerable, not safe. When you're consistently kind, people stop seeing you as kind. They see you as predictable. They know you won't fight back. They know you won't say no. They know you'll tolerate things most people wouldn't. You become the coworker who gets dumped with extra work, the friend who always pays, the family member who always says yes even when you're exhausted. Let me tell you a story. I once knew a team manager, one of the most generous, selfless people I'd ever met. He always covered for his team. He worked overtime to help them shine. He made everyone else's job easier. Guess what happened when it came time for a promotion? They picked someone else. Why? Because nice people don't look like leaders. They look like servants. People don't respect your goodness. They exploit it. Think about it. When someone's always available to help, their help loses value. When someone never sets boundaries, people stop respecting them. When someone never shows resistance, others assume they never will. Your goodness becomes your weakness because it signals one thing to the world: you can take advantage of me. Machiavelli once wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." You've been trying to survive as a sheep in a world full of wolves, and that's exactly why you keep getting hurt. 2. The generosity trap. Now let's talk about generosity, the trap that looks like virtue but often turns into poison. Here's something that'll twist your mind a bit. The more you give, the less people appreciate it. Sounds backward, right? But it's true. Generosity creates short-term applause. People love you for it, at first. They call you amazing. They praise you. It feels incredible. But over time, that same generosity breeds entitlement, dependency, and eventually, resentment. Here's why. When you help someone once, they're grateful. Help them twice, they're thankful. Help them 10 times, and now they expect it. Your extraordinary kindness becomes their ordinary standard. And when you finally stop helping, they don't remember the 9 times you said yes. They remember the 1 time you said no. Suddenly, you're selfish, you're changed, you're the bad guy. You see this everywhere. Take parents who give their kids everything they want. At first, the children are thrilled, but soon they expect it. The new phone, the new toy, it's not special anymore. It's normal. And when the parents finally say no, the kids get angry. They call them unfair. The same pattern plays out in friendships and workplaces. You're the one who picks up the bill, the one who stays late, the one who always helps people move. At first they thank you, then they expect you. And when you finally need help, suddenly everyone's too busy. That's the generosity trap. You give until giving becomes your identity. And the moment you stop, you become the villain in everyone else's story. Your generosity doesn't create loyalty, it creates addiction, and addicts always hate their dealer when the supply runs out. The psychology behind this is called hedonic adaptation. Humans adjust quickly to good things. What once felt special becomes normal. What once felt generous becomes expected. Your repeated kindness fades into the background. People stop noticing it. But the one time you set a boundary, that's what they remember. That's what they gossip about. That's what they resent. It happens in every part of life. At work, stay late every night and it's expected. Leave on time once and you're slacking. In relationships, always compromise and it's normal. Stand your ground once and you're difficult. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He said, benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. He understood something most people never grasp. Scarcity creates value. Abundance destroys it. 3. The mask of virtue. Here's a truth that'll make a lot of people uncomfortable. Society doesn't care if you're actually good. It cares if you look good. People judge appearances, not intentions. They don't look at your heart, they look at your image. And that's why, to survive and be respected, you must learn to wear the mask of virtue while keeping control underneath. Look at the most successful people you know. Do you think they got there by being endlessly nice? Of course not. They got there by being smart about when and how they showed their goodness. They smiled in public but made tough calls in private. They showed mercy when it served them, and strength when it was necessary. They knew that the appearance of virtue is often more powerful than virtue itself. This isn't about being fake. It's about being strategic. Think of a doctor performing surgery. Cutting someone open looks cruel, but it's the only way to save their life. Sometimes, truly good actions look bad on the surface. Sometimes, helping someone means saying no. Sometimes, protecting your team means being unpopular. That's the mask of virtue, not deception, but timing. Knowing when to show softness and when to show steel. Most people get this backwards. They show weakness to enemies and strength to friends. The wise do the opposite. Machiavelli put it perfectly. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Perception shapes reality. If people see you as weak, you become weak. If they see you as strong, you become strong. 4. The economics of power. Here's something most good people never stop to think about. Everything you do has a cost. Every favor you grant, every time you say yes when you really mean no, every moment you spend solving other people's problems instead of your own, it all costs something. Your time, your energy, your attention, your peace. And these are not infinite resources. They run out. The world doesn't tell you this because it romanticizes selflessness. You're told that good people give endlessly, that kindness means never keeping score, that saying no makes you cold. But here's the truth. If you keep giving without limits, you'll end up empty. And an empty person can't help anyone. It's like this. Think of an airplane emergency. The instructions always say, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out trying to help someone else, now 2 people need saving. Life works the same way. If you drain yourself helping everyone around you, you stop being a helper. You become another person who needs rescuing. I learned this lesson the hard way. For years, I was that person who said yes to everything. Yes, I can help you with that. Yes, I'll take on that project. Yes, I'll cover for you. Every yes felt noble until I realized I was saying no to myself every single time. My own dreams were fading. My own goals were gathering dust. And the worst part? The people I was helping didn't even notice. They just kept asking for more. Eventually, I hit a wall. I was exhausted, angry, resentful, not because they were bad people, but because I had failed to protect my own resources. That's when I finally understood. Saying yes to everyone means saying no to yourself. And when you abandon yourself, you eventually fail everyone else too. The truth is, sustainable goodness requires discipline. It requires boundaries. It requires saying no, not out of selfishness, but out of wisdom. Because if you're drained, burned out, or bitter, your kindness stops being real. It becomes an act, a mask you wear while you're dying inside. Machiavelli said it best, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." You can't command others if you can't command your own time and energy. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. Because when you guard your strength, you multiply your impact. When you manage your energy, your kindness becomes powerful instead of draining. 5. The strategic use of virtue. Now that you understand the economics of your energy, let's talk about how to use goodness as a weapon, not a weakness. I'm not saying you should stop being honest, generous, or merciful. These are incredible virtues. But virtues only have power when used strategically. Think of your goodness like a sword. A sword sitting on a shelf protects no one. But in the hands of a skilled warrior, used at the right time and with the right precision, it can save a kingdom. That's how your kindness should work. Not constant, not careless, but controlled. When you help someone, do it intentionally. When you show mercy, do it with purpose. When you give, do it to create the impact you want. Instead of trying to please everyone, focus your goodness where it matters most. Help the right people deeply instead of helping everyone shallowly. Say yes powerfully to what aligns with your goals, and say no clearly to what doesn't. This approach does 3 powerful things. Your help becomes more valuable because it's rare. You create greater impact because you're focused. You earn more respect because you're selective. Look at history's most respected leaders. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't nice to injustice. He confronted it fiercely. Mother Teresa didn't try to help everyone. She focused intensely on the poorest of the poor. They were good people, but not blindly good. They were strategically good. They used their virtue as a weapon for transformation, not as a shield against criticism. Here's a simple framework you can use to practice strategic virtue in your own life. Before saying yes to anything, ask yourself, does this align with my values and goals? Can I do this without depleting myself? Will this person genuinely appreciate it? If the answer to any of these is no, you don't owe anyone a yes. Say no kindly, but say it firmly. And when you do say yes, do it fully. Give your best. Create real value. Deliver excellence. That's how your yes becomes memorable and respected. Because people don't value constant availability. They value meaningful contribution. Machiavelli wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." What he meant was this. Sometimes staying good requires you to make hard choices. Sometimes keeping your word to one person means breaking it to another. Sometimes protecting your dream means disappointing someone who wants your time. Strategic virtue isn't about being cold, it's about being effective. 6. The illusion of gratitude. This one might sting a little. The truth is, gratitude fades. People's thankfulness for your help has an expiration date. The favors you do, the sacrifices you make, the late nights you spend helping others, they all fade from memory faster than you think. At first, your kindness feels special, but repeat it too many times and it turns invisible. You help your neighbor move once, they're grateful. You help again, still thankful, but less excited. You help a third time, now it's expected. You skip the fourth, suddenly you're the bad guy. That's not malice, that's psychology. Humans adapt to good things quickly. We normalize kindness. The more consistently kind you are, the less your kindness stands out. The more available you make yourself, the less special your presence becomes. The more you give without asking for anything in return, the more people assume your giving costs you nothing. It's not that people are evil, it's that they're human, and humans forget. So what starts as, "Thank you so much," eventually turns into, "You should." What starts as gratitude ends as expectation. You become the go-to person until you set a boundary. Then you become selfish. This is why some of the people you've helped the most often show you the least appreciation. The constant givers become invisible. That's the illusion of gratitude. The idea that the more you give, the more people will love you. In reality, the more you give, the more people expect. Machiavelli understood this dynamic too. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." Translation? People judge you by what they see right now, not what you've done before. Your past kindness fades, your current boundaries define you. So here's what to remember. Let people feel your absence sometimes. Let them experience what it's like when you're not the one fixing everything. You don't have to punish anyone. You just have to make your value visible again. Because lasting impact doesn't come from endless giving. It comes from selective, meaningful, and well-timed giving. 7. Results over intentions. Let's move to something that completely flips how most people think about goodness. The world doesn't judge your intentions. It judges your results. You might have the purest heart, the best motives, the kindest soul. But if your actions don't produce meaningful outcomes, none of that matters. History doesn't remember those who meant well. It remembers those who change things. Let me ask you this. Would you rather be remembered as someone who was nice but accomplished little, or as someone who might have seemed tough but actually made the world better? Most people pick nice because it feels safe, but safe is the enemy of impact. Being remembered as nice is just another way of being forgotten. Sometimes being truly good means doing things that don't look good. A parent who disciplines their child isn't being mean, they're preparing them for life. A teacher who gives tough grades isn't cruel, they're building resilience. A leader who enforces high standards isn't cold, they're cultivating excellence. Real goodness isn't about comfort, it's about growth. It's about outcomes, not appearances. Most people confuse being nice with being good. But there's a difference. Nice people avoid conflict. Good people resolve conflict. Nice people say what others want to hear. Good people say what others need to hear. Nice people maintain peace temporarily. Good people create change permanently. Machiavelli once said, "The end justifies the means." People misinterpret that as permission to do evil. But what it really means is this: good intentions mean nothing without good results. People don't live inside your heart. They live with the consequences of your actions. So if you truly want to be good, stop asking, "Will they like me?" and start asking, "Will this make things better?" Because in the end, goodness that changes nothing isn't goodness. It's comfort disguised as virtue. 8. The power of detachment. If there's one habit that separates the strong from the weak, it's this: detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It's the art of doing your best, then releasing the outcome. Most good people struggle with this because their kindness comes with emotional investment. When they help, they expect appreciation. When they give, they hope for reciprocation. When they love, they crave acknowledgement. And when they don't get it, they feel crushed. That's because they haven't learned the higher form of goodness, detached goodness. Detached goodness is when you act rightly because it aligns with your values, not because you need validation. You help because it's who you are, not because you want to be seen as good. You forgive because peace matters more than pride. You give because abundance feels better than resentment. When your goodness no longer depends on other people's reactions, you become unshakable. Machiavelli understood this too. He wrote, "He who builds on the people builds on the mud." It means if your strength depends on the approval of others, it will collapse the moment they withdraw it. But if your strength comes from within, from principle, from self-respect, from inner clarity, then no one can take it from you. Here's a mental exercise. Think of every good act you've done in the past year. Now imagine none of those people ever thanked you. Would your actions still feel worth it? If your answer is yes, congratulations, you've reached emotional sovereignty. If your answer is no, that's okay too. It just means your goodness is still attached to outcome. The path forward is to practice quiet virtue. Do good in secret. Give without telling anyone. Help without broadcasting it. Watch how freeing it feels when no one's reaction can touch your peace. That's detachment, not coldness, but clarity. When you detach, you stop being manipulated by guilt, obligation, or others' approval. You act from strength, not weakness. Because the strongest form of goodness is the one that doesn't beg to be noticed. 9. Controlled ruthlessness. Now, let's talk about something that sounds dark but is actually necessary. Controlled ruthlessness. Most people hear that word, ruthless, and immediately reject it. They imagine cruelty, betrayal, or violence. But in its purest form, ruthlessness simply means uncompromising focus. It's the ability to cut away distractions, sentimentality, and emotional noise in order to protect what truly matters. Controlled ruthlessness is what allows surgeons to save lives. They cut to heal. It's what allows leaders to make unpopular decisions for long-term gain. It's what allows artists to say no to mediocrity and pursue their vision completely. In your life, controlled ruthlessness means protecting your purpose, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Because here's the truth. You can't build anything great without disappointing someone. You'll have to disappoint those who expect constant help. You'll have to ignore those who mock your ambition. You'll have to walk away from people who drain your focus. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. You can be compassionate and decisive, gentle and firm, empathetic and assertive. This is the paradox of strength. You must learn to wield both the sword and the shield. Machiavelli put it simply. A prince must learn how not to be good and to use this knowledge as necessity requires. It doesn't mean you abandon morality. It means you master flexibility. You stay kind when it serves truth. You become firm when it protects order. You show mercy when it fuels growth, and you show force when it prevents decay. Controlled ruthlessness is like fire. In balance, it cooks your food. Out of control, it burns your home. You're not meant to suppress it. You're meant to master it, because real power is not about being unkind. It's about being unshakable. 10. The paradox of true power. Now that we've torn down the illusions around goodness, let's rebuild what real strength looks like. True power doesn't come from domination or control. It comes from balance between light and dark, mercy and judgment, compassion and discipline. Machiavelli understood the necessity of this duality. The world is full of chaos and contradiction, and the person who survives is not the one who chooses one side. It's the one who can hold both. To be strong, you must carry contradiction inside you. You must be soft enough to feel, but hard enough to act. You must care deeply, but detach when necessary. You must give freely, but withdraw when giving becomes abuse. That's the ultimate evolution of the good person. You stop being nice, you become wise. You stop being selfless, you become self-respecting. You stop being helpful, you become impactful. You start understanding that the most powerful people on earth aren't the ones who never get angry. They're the ones who control their anger. They're not the ones who never say no. They're the ones who say it with grace and finality. They're not the ones who are always good. They're the ones who know when to stop. That's real maturity. That's real goodness. The world doesn't need more people who are endlessly nice. It needs people who are whole, who can embody both empathy and authority, both warmth and wisdom. Because only whole people can create real change. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Most people misunderstand this line. It's not a call to cruelty. It's a warning about imbalance. If your kindness isn't backed by boundaries, it will be abused. If your love isn't supported by strength, it will be ignored. But if you can be both, loved and respected, gentle and powerful, then you've transcended the game. Because when people fear disappointing you, not because you're cruel, but because they admire your standards, that's when your goodness has real authority. 11. The rebirth of the good person. Let's end with the transformation this entire philosophy leads to. You were told that being good meant never hurting anyone, never saying no, never upsetting anyone. But that version of goodness was a cage. True goodness, the kind that shapes history, builds legacies, and changes lives, comes from strength, not sacrifice. It's the quiet, grounded energy of someone who knows their worth, someone who gives intentionally, not compulsively, someone who helps, but never at the cost of their peace, someone who can walk away when a situation no longer deserves their presence. You don't lose your kindness on this path, you refine it. You stop giving out of guilt and start giving out of choice. You stop saying yes out of fear and start saying no out of power. You stop chasing validation and start radiating confidence. You become a different kind of good, the kind that commands respect instead of begging for it. That's what Machiavelli's dark wisdom really points to. Not manipulation or deceit, but mastery. Mastery of self, mastery of emotion, mastery of influence. Because when you master yourself, no one can use your goodness against you. So the next time someone calls you too kind, smile. Because they're right, but not in the way they think. You're kind, but your kindness has edges. You're gentle, but your gentleness has strength. You're light, but your light can burn when necessary. That's the rebirth of the good person, not a saint, not a savior, but a sovereign. Because once you understand that, you stop living like prey and start leading like power.